my gosh. Tom, are you sorry? Just got a little distracted by the view. We're at Cliff House in Cape Nettic, and everything here is opulent, including their flowers. And we're going to meet the woman behind the flowers right now. And there she is, Elizabeth Brown. You're hard at work cutting some cosmos.
Good morning.
Hi.
Yes. How are you this morning?
Great. You?
Good. I'm fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, how can you not be?
Yeah, these are some of my favorite flowers to grow here at the Cliff House. They're called cosmos. They're also what's known as cut and come again flowers. So they will bloom all season long.
Oh, wow.
And put on hundreds of stems
Beautiful.
that I can bring up to the resort for guests to enjoy. We also grow lavender and mint, all sorts of things that are used in the cocktails at the resort and the spa.
Oh, wow. This isn't the only garden that you oversee, though. Is that correct?
Yeah. I also have a garden on the other side of town at my home where I grow lots of blooms for the community. So I'm excited to show you that.
So we made it to the other side of town, and this is your cutting garden. And
Absolutely.
This was a COVID baby, kind of, right?
So this was my pandemic project. Some people learn to bake bread, but I got really into flowers. So I learned about what's called the Growing Kindness Project, which was a way to learn to grow your own cut flowers and give them to people in the community. So my family and I grew close to 100 dahlias and gave them to teachers and healthcare workers.
Aw.
Yeah, it was very
That's
nice.
very sweet.
Yeah, we loved it.
You must have had a lot of incredible moments.
So many feel-good
touching moments.
Yes, yeah, and I think the most important thing was sort of, people are always actually shocked when you give them flowers.
Right.
And so the smile on their face, I became absolutely addicted to it. So we went from just growing flowers for fun to tripling the growing space, and this is now where I sell cut flowers for floral CSAs and local florists.
And this is one of your examples.
Yeah, so this is all grown here. So I also actually teach people now how to make their own cut flower gardens. Number one thing I always tell people though is think about the bouquet you want to see in your hand in high season. So a lot of times we think of, a big flashy flower like this, a dahlia. But you want to make sure to fill out your bouquet with little secondary flowers like these little zinnias, cosmos. And this year I've also been playing around with native blooms. So
Ooh.
this right here is a wild bee balm.
That's this?
Yes,
this one?
It has a fantastic vase life.
It's beautiful.
And the same here, this is called mountain mint, smells incredible.
Yeah, it has a faint mint smell.
Yes.
It's a little herbaceous.
Yeah,
Love
exactly. And I love a bouquet that not only looks beautiful, but feels and smells beautiful too. Make sure you start with just 5 flowers your first year so you can really get a handle on what you're growing and learn how they function in your yard and in the vase. So these are some of my absolute favorite garden flowers because they really speak to the home garden. Cosmos do not travel well.
Okay.
So when you find cosmos at a farmer's market, you can always be certain that they're hyper local and probably have been harvested that very morning.
Great, okay.
So there is a trick though to growing cosmos to making sure you have blooms all season long, and that is something we call succession planting. So these particular flowers were grown from seed and put in the ground right around the last frost date, whereas the cosmos back there were actually sown about 6 weeks later and put into the garden. That way when these flowers tire after all the summer heat, those flowers are ready to take their place so we have blooms through the last frost.
This might be a little silly of a question, but where would I cut on here for a cut flower?
Yeah, that is not a silly question.
You sure?
Yes.
You're not just saying that?
No, I'm not just saying it because in all honesty, as much as we call these cut flower gardens, people have the hardest time cutting their flowers.
Okay, good.
And usually you have to cut them much deeper than you think to encourage new growth. So what I tend to do is do it by feeling. So I slide my finger down the stem, and once the bloom is touching about my elbow, I'll make a snip just above the leaves right there.
Oh.
And then more flowers will grow in that place.
Okay. So
other
it's fingertip to elbow.
Yes, you've got it. And I find that's a good way to measure things.
Yeah.
It's very tactile for me.
Sure.
The other thing, when I cut a stem, I try and make sure there's some open blooms, but also some that are just about to burst open.
Okay.
So we like to harvest cosmos in what's called the cracking bud stage, meaning they haven't quite opened. That way when you bring them home, they'll slowly open over the course of about a week.
So in the vase, in the water, those
Yes.
4 days later, 5 days later, you're going to get some fresh buds that come out?
You've got it.
Oh, that's super cool. Okay.
Yes,
All right.
and then you can just deadhead the ones that have already passed.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Wow. So this is awesome stuff on cut flowers. Where can people find you? Social media, website, what do you got?
Yes. My Instagram handle is Foxglove Farmhouse.
Okay.
And lots of little videos, quick videos about growing simple, easy flowers. And also my website, foxglovefarmhouse.com. You can find any workshops I have coming up, and feel free to email me any growing questions you might have.
Elizabeth, this is awesome. Thanks so much for all the tips on
so
cut
glad.
flowers. And
Yeah.
that's a wrap on cut flowers. We'll see you next time on Gardening with Gutner. Bye-bye.